We are closing out our interfaith celebration of light. We started the first Sunday in December talking about Christianity and Advent. We talked about Bodhi Day and Buddhism. Then we moved on to talk about Hinduism. We have talked about paganism, earth-based religion, and we have celebrated the light all along, the light that we are and the light that we see and the light that we are becoming. So today, we're going to finish out this interfaith celebration of light, these holy days. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about Hanukkah. We're going to talk a little bit about Kwanzaa, and we're going to set a little bit of intention for the new year. That's what we're about today. You with me? All right. So every year, about this time, we tell the story of Hanukkah. Now, I know that those of us who were raised in Christian households like to think of Hanukkah as the Jewish Christmas. It is not. Let's just get that part out of the way. It's not even the most important or one of the most important festivals of the Jewish calendar. So I just want to say that. However, it is so wonderful for us new thoughters to have this story to tell because it says a lot about what God is, about what divinity is, about what truth is, about what love is. So I'm going to give you the briefest version of the Hanukkah story you've ever heard. And if you would like to learn more, there are the interwebs for your pleasure. And I know we'll be talking about it again. So this was about 150 years before the rabbi known as Jesus was born. So this is pre-Jesus. Mind you, the Jewish people had been around, Abraham went from being a polytheistic man to being one of the first monotheists on the planet thousands of years before this. So this is fairly recent, I would say, in Jewish history, right? So Jerusalem, God bless Jerusalem. The city of peace had been once again overtaken. This time, the Greeks had invaded Syria, and these Greek Syrians had invaded Jerusalem. And their main goal at this time was to get everybody to look at the world the same way. They wanted everybody to celebrate the same divinity, the same God. So that's basically what was happening here. And they had pretty much overrun Jerusalem at this time. They pretty much owned the city, and there was just the temple, the holy, sacred temple, the home of God itself was the only place that was still in Jewish hands. So there was this really small group of Jews called the Maccabees, and they defended the temple successfully from the Assyrian Greeks. And this very small band of Maccabees, they recaptured the temple, and when they got the temple back, they lit the sacred lamp. And you know the story. They expected there to be enough oil for the lamp to stay lit for one day, and they were fine with that for the record. But to their astonishment, it kept burning and burning and burning for 8 days and 8 nights. And so we celebrate Hanukkah for 8 days and 8 nights with prayers, with special foods, and with togetherness. So there's really just 2 things that I want to point out about Hanukkah briefly. One of my favorite rabbis, Joshua Heschel, he pointed out that there would be no Christmas without this act of bravery 150 years before the birth of Jesus. Because these were, in a way, the last holders of monotheism that had not yet been overtaken by the Greeks. There would be no official Jewish culture, possibly, if these people had not stood up for their faith. Nobody expected them to win. Nobody. But they did. And they were given fire to their defense because they were standing up for their faith, in their faith, as their faith, in the face of everything that was coming at them. I think that's a really important point that we're going to bookmark here for just a minute. The second thing that I want to make sure that we take a look at, and this is, I didn't read this anywhere. This is World History and Culture interpreted by Shelley Walker. So take that as however you will. I was thinking about this oil, and I was thinking about what an incredible metaphor it is for the power of the divine. That when we light that one light, all of the power of the universe steps forward as a yes, a sacred yes, and it gives us things that we didn't even know to ask for. And I think part of our I don't want to call names on myself. I think that part of our issue here in New Thought is that we are a name it and claim it kind of people, and we forget that to leave room for God, to leave room for the miracle, to leave room for the miracle that we don't even know to ask for. The sacred oil is enough, y'all. And it's always more than enough when we step forward in faith and light that one light. So this story of Hanukkah for me is a story of faith and enoughness. And it is really, really relevant to us here today. Faith and enoughness. So now we're going to move from an ancient story teaching us about faith and enoughness to a modern story teaching us about faith and enoughness in a very different way. We are going to talk about Kwanzaa. We're going to talk about Kwanzaa for a little bit. So Kwanzaa, the word Kwanzaa is from the Swahili, which means first fruits. And the idea behind Kwanzaa was to take back and celebrate Black culture and achievement, and to reaffirm and restore Black culture. Now, y'all, I grew up in the South. I grew up in Texas and Georgia, and we didn't have Kwanzaa when I was growing up, or it was very, very new, and it hadn't yet crossed the threshold into our everyday culture. You know, you didn't see Kwanzaa sets in Target when I was a kid. So I love the intention behind this holiday, because what this does is it says, in effect, you don't get to tell me who I am. I am going to tell you who I am, and I'm going to look to the community that I trust to remind me of the truth of who I am. I love everything about that. I love everything about this. So, Kwanzaa. During the week of Kwanzaa, which starts on December 26th every year, families and communities come together to share a feast, to honor the ancestors, to affirm the bonds amongst the family, and to celebrate African and African American culture and excellence. Every day they light a candle that highlights the principle of the day, and they do activities together to breathe meaning into the principles. They will recite sayings and read words of great Black thinkers and writers. They'll recite original poetry. They'll do African drumming. They'll share a meal of African diaspora-inspired foods. That sounds like a hell of a party, Brian. I feel like. So there are certain colors associated with it. Black, red, and green are the colors of the African American people, originally given by Marcus Garvey, who was an incredible civil rights activist and leader of the Pan-Africanism movement. And his goal was to unite the people of African descent globally. So when observing Kwanzaa, and I keep pointing over here because we have a kinara here, we have part of a Kwanzaa setup. We don't have the whole thing. But the colors of Kwanzaa are black, red, and green. And the black represents the people. The red represents the past and the struggle and the blood that has been shared for equality. And the green represents the possibility of the future and Mother Earth and everything that is possible when we unite together with the Mother. How powerful is this? How powerful is this? So much like some of the other festivals that we have celebrated, every day there's a principle and there's a candle to be lit. So I'm going to invite practitioner Terry to come up. And I don't think we've ever done this in our community before. We are going to light the kinara. And we're just going to light up. Today is day 4 of Kwanzaa. So she's just going to light the first 4 candles for us. So day 1, which was December 26th, that was the principle of unity. To strive for and maintain unity in the family, community, nation, and race. Day 2, self-determination. To define ourselves, name ourselves, create for ourselves, and speak for ourselves. Day 3, collective work and responsibility. To build and maintain our community together and make our community's problems our problems and solve them together. So much to learn here. Day 4, that's today's candle. Cooperative economics. To build and maintain our own stores, shops, and other businesses and to profit from them together. Tomorrow, they'll light the next green candle, which is the candle of purpose, to make our collective vocation the building and developing of our community in order to restore our people to their traditional greatness. Day 6 is creativity, to do always as much as we can to leave our community more beautiful and beneficial than we inherited it. And the final day, day 7, is faith, to believe with all our hearts in our people and the righteousness and victory of our struggle. This is Kwanzaa. How beautiful is that? How beautiful is that? Thank you, practitioner Terry. All right, Kwanzaa. Much like the Hanukkah story, I find that Kwanzaa is really a time to honor the long history, the long story of faith and enoughness. Kwanzaa says, you aren't going to tell me who I am. I'm going to tell you who I am. It's powerful. It's powerful. On the personal level, Kwanzaa doesn't offer redemption. It offers remembering the truth of who they are, who we are. Truth that isn't projected on us, that it's an inner value that we carry into the world. And that community is where we turn to remember. Isn't it beautiful? It's just beautiful. So Hanukkah and Kwanzaa, opportunities to recognize the light in ourselves and in each other, to affirm our faith and remember our enoughness. There's always enough when we're partnered with the divine. So that brings us to the end of the holy days. But every day is really a holy day, isn't it? When we decide it is. But now we turn our attention to what is coming next, to the new year that is coming. I was having dinner with friends, and you greet each other, you do your hugging, and then they look at you and they say, "Are you tired?" Yes. Are you okay? Are you worried about something? And I mean, I didn't put on makeup, but I didn't think I was like walking in like a ghoul. Like I don't know what they were seeing, but because these are, closest friends, I took a minute and I thought, am I worried about something? And then I thought, yeah, there's like a weight that I've been dragging around with me, a weight of dread that I've been dragging around with me. And my friend looked at me and she said, "What are you scared of. Like, what? Because that's not me. I'm not a drag the dread around by the pearls kind of gal. Like, that's not who I am. So she was really surprised by that. And so I kind of stopped for a minute and I took a breath and I thought, what am I? What am I afraid of? And I said, well, there's kind of this, there's kind of that, politics, kids, I don't know. And she goes, well, whatever it is you're dreading, isn't there just as much possibility? I went, oh. And that's why we surround ourselves with New Thought metaphysicians, my friends. That's what you are. You're a New Thought metaphysician because you remember that there is just as much, if not more, possibility than there is darkness. There is just as much, if not more, light. Always, every time. So every year at around this time, I'm usually here because ministers are exhausted at this point in the December season. So for many years, I have been here. And for many years, we have done burning bowl ceremonies. We've done Taizé rituals. We've done talks. And every year, I take this day, this Sunday, between what I celebrate, which is Christmas, and the New Year. Every Sunday between those two anniversaries, I take a breath. And I recognize that this moment, where you are right now, is an in-between space. It's a liminal space. And in-between spaces are not just for the purpose of eating too much cheese. This in-between space is a huge opportunity. We stand at a threshold. Neuroscience tells us that our neurons actually really love thresholds and doorways. That's why sometimes you'll forget what you're doing when you walk into a room, because every time you walk into a room, whether that's literal or metaphorical, your brain takes a little moment to reset itself. What? I know. I don't know why. Neither do the researchers at Yale who figured this out, but it fascinates me. Your brain wants to pause. Your heart wants to pause. All of you, wants to pause and take a breath and have a little minute to reset. And so I like to think of this moment as a doorway. And you, my friends, are standing at the threshold between yesterday and tomorrow, between the past and the future. This is the most powerful moment you will experience, this now. And the invitation is for you to recognize that all of you is welcome at the threshold. All of you. The parts of you that you love and the parts of you that you don't. The things that you celebrate about yourself and the things that you wish you hadn't. All of you is welcome at this threshold. The light and the shadow. All of it, all of it, all of it. Because without any of it, you wouldn't be you. And you're beautiful. And you're perfect. So, the first invitation for you today, as you stand in this doorway between yesterday and tomorrow, the first invitation is to invite all of yourself in. All of it. And let it be okay. Let it just be what it is. All of you is welcome here. So even as you stand at the doorway and even as you welcome your full self to this space, you still get to be at choice. And the reason you get to be at choice is because your story is not yet told. We've only written the beginning. Your story isn't yet told, and you get to decide how you want to proceed through this sacred doorway. What do you want to be? Do you want to be a giver? You want to be a healer? Do you want to be a change agent, a light bringer, a truth teller, a peacemaker, a beauty creator, a joy spreader? What is it that you want to be? All of these intentions are things that we can name as we cross the threshold into a new year, a new day, a new now. And so, what do you intend? What do you intend to be, and how do you intend to be in the world? How do you intend to move through your world? The thing is, you, my friend, are a change agent. You are a light bringer. And I can tell you how I know this about you, even though I haven't exchanged a word with some of you before. If you were not a change agent, you would be at the community up the street that your great-grandparents worshiped at 125 years ago. But that's not where you choose to be. You choose to be here. And this is a community of change agents and light bringers. And this is where you vibe. So you, my friend, in your own unique and perfect and wonderful way, are a change agent. You came into this world not just to worship a light, but to be the light. This is why you're here. You would not be here otherwise. You are the shamash, and you are the candles that it lights, right? You are the principles and the intentions of Kwanzaa. You are the light made form, and there is so much possibility just waiting to be demonstrated on the other side of this sacred doorway that you stand at. So much possibility. So in this moment, you get to be at choice. In this moment. So let's take a minute. For those of you at home, you might want to grab a little writing implement, or you might not. You might want to rest your eyes or leave them open, gaze at a beautiful candle. But I want you to think for just a minute. Each of us, every single one of us, have something that is ready to be illuminated in our lives. This is a story we've been telling over and over again in many different ways and in all of the different cultures of the world. There is something that is waiting to be illuminated in your life. And even better, there's a higher wisdom self in you that already knows what that is. And so if you can in this moment, and it might come to you later, I just ask, what is asking for change in you? What is asking for change in your world? Yeah. What we've learned this month in celebrating all of these beautiful different traditions is that each of us has a gift of light to give to the world. What is your gift of light? And as you take a breath and you bring that gift into the room with you, and again, it might come to you later, it might come to you in your dream time. But what I know is that you are the gift. Everything that we have exchanged, all of the energy that we have exchanged in the last month, really, you're the gift. It's you that the world is waiting for. It's you that your life is waiting for. And what you can do in this in-between moment is to set a powerful intention for your life and for your world. But here's what we know. Intention without action turns out to be fairly meaningless. There are a lot of external influences on our lives between our family of origin and social media and culture and all of the stuff that we are bombarded with on a daily basis, are already established habits. You know, there's a lot that wants to keep us the way we are. But according to Yale psychology researcher Jonathan Barg, we can acknowledge these unconscious influences on us, and then we actually increase the amount of free will that we have by acknowledging these outer influences on us. And then decades of laboratory research has showed us that the way to move beyond these unconscious influences is something called implementation intentions. And it's basically this: if you have an intention for your life, what's the action that you're going to back it up with? That's all. That's how we make it move in the world. So, like, if you have an intention to move your body after breakfast every day, then when you get up and get dressed, go ahead and put on your walking shoes. Right? You've already got your shoes on, you might as well go for a walk. If your intention is to join us live at 11 a.m. every Sunday, go ahead and block that time out in your calendar and back it up with an hour reminder ahead of time, right? Back up your intentions with action. This is how we get out of the unconscious the unconscious influences, like rut that we live in, okay? So, here's the thing. Where we are is sacred ground. Where you are is sacred ground. This moment in time is a sacred doorway. And you get to be at choice about how you move through the doorway. You've already invited your whole self to the party. You've already recognized that you are a gift, and that maybe you could give your gift of light in a brighter way. Maybe you could light somebody else's candle. Maybe you could be a better receiver of light. There are so many ways to be a gift in the world. They're infinite. 8 billion different ways to be a light. So here we are at this threshold. And the question that has to be asked, if you are interested in setting an intention for how you want to show up in your world, then the question that needs to be asked, and this would be great fodder for your journal between now and the new year. The question that has to be asked is, am I willing to change? Because in order to have a different experience of life, we have to live life differently, and that means change. And change is a different thing for our ego than it is for our soul. For our ego, change is hard. Bless us. We don't like it because our ego has worked so hard to keep us safe. We like being safe. Our soul, not so interested. Safety, schmafety. I'm interested in growth. I'm interested in light. I'm interested in giving my gift to the world. So, in order to have a different life, in order to be the gift that you were put here to be, the question, am I willing to change? And if you're really brave, if you're really, really brave, then the next question is, how can I partner with God to do it? Because when you and God partner together, the power is infinite, and every step you take is powered by the divine. You're guided, you're guarded, you're directed, and you are sourced with good when you partner with the divine. So, as you walk through this threshold, just think about it. Just wonder for yourself, what is my gift? Am I willing to change so I can give that gift in a brighter way? And am I willing to partner with power itself to make it happen?